On that note, I'd like to remind the audience we do have a poll, which should go up here soon, which is when you think the enlargement process will go forward. By when will these countries join the EU? By 2030, by 2040, or never? I will come back to the panel on that a bit later. But Minister Konaković, Alexander Schallenberg says that Kosovo is clearly at the boiling point. Another area where people are constantly warning that it's going to go over the boil is your country. How much time do you think the region has to go through this process before the situation becomes untenable, before people turn their backs on the idea of enlargement because they realize, hopefully this won't be the case, but that it's never going to happen?
It's an excellent question, actually. First of all, I have to say, we was wondering and discussing is this pro and contra, actually, discussion, and I'm so happy to have my friend Schallenberg next to me, because I know his approach and approach of Austria, of course, regarding enlargement of European community. That's the right question, because this is not a one-way story anymore, you know. Unfortunately, because of Russia's aggression on Ukraine, the world has changed completely, and the policy, enlargement policy inside of European community has changed completely. Like we had a meeting last week in Brussels, actually talking with all ministers of foreign affairs from all European community countries, and I heard like one voice that we need to enlarge European community, and we need to do it faster than it was idea 2 years ago, let's say. I was watching the question, never was the right answer probably 2 years ago. I hope it's not now, you know. Never is not the answer anymore, because we are, all of us, we are aware of our mistakes, of course. We know we were doing nothing, delivering nothing from, let's say, I'm talking about Bosnia and Hercegovina. From these 14 key priorities, we delivered zero, like in last few years, last decade, let's say. But now, actually, we have a new Council of Ministers. I'm a member of that Council of Ministers, the fastest one elected ever in history of Bosnia and Herzegovina, approved in January already, only 3 months after the elections. It's not usual even in your countries, actually. In my country, it's not normal, let's say. And on the other side, actually, we started to deliver. It's not too much, but we already adopted many documents. We adopted some amendments on the laws, actually, from these 14 key priorities. We adopted program of reforms on time this year. So we show like we are ready, we want to go faster, but now we need a hand, you know. This story about stick and carrot, we need few carrots and one stick, you know, not one anymore. So I think the right question is, because of Euroscepticism is raised after, I have to say, North Macedonia story, because my friend Bojan Osmani and his government, they're doing excellent job, and they don't go so fast, you know. So we are following situation. On the other side, we are aware of our mistakes, but I'm really open and honest. European community in my country was sleeping for decades, doing nothing, zero. Russia, China, and other countries, they're moving around, offering money, projects, putting influence on political scene, and now you can measure like it's not the same. So I think now we are all aware that our countries, they belong to Europe. We live in the heart of Europe. We are not on the edge of Europe. We are not, I don't know, like on the backyard. We are in the heart of Europe. And I think it's normal to get this story like much faster, to go to enlargement. We are aware of our responsibilities. We will do our best. And I have to say, to conclude, these 14 key priorities we need to deliver. It would be hard for Austria to deliver at the moment, or any other European country. So we need to renegotiate this process, and we need to do it together. Because if we don't do that, the Russian, Chinese, and other, they will do their job. And unfortunately, some other political parties, they already started to promote the idea to connect even Russia at the moment. They will succeed. I hope that will not happen, but we have to be aware of the situation.
Minister Konaković, Alexander Schallenberg says Ukraine is a turbo for enlargement. Do you agree with that? Number one, and we have another question here, which is, does Serbia have to recognize Kosovo for this process to go forward?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it is turbo, you know, because the situation before and after aggression is completely different, I said before. I was thinking about the pools, you know. I was thinking about we should go to primary school to try to find the leaders which will lead our countries to European unity after 17 years from now, you know. So it's a good idea. And I was thinking, will my daughter be married or not? She's 6 years old, you know. If we are talking about 17 years, and I have to ask you, what do you think will happen with European community? Do you think it will be the same? It will exist? It will be bigger, smaller? You know, it's really, it looks. That's what I want to explain, actually. Dealing with the reforms, and I will answer on your question, of course. We have a few examples, you know, and we are completely aligned. This new Council of Ministers is 100% aligned with the foreign policy of European community. We improved on that field also, you know. Year before it was 88, year before it was 44, so we are following, we are traveling, you know. And dealing with the reforms on European way, that really affects our domestic industry. We are using 44% of milk produced in Bosnia and Herzegovina in 2022. Year before it was 77%. It was even bigger, numbers are bigger before. So we are going down. We cannot follow the strong European market. We cannot compete with the strong European companies. So that's what I fully agree. We should find a way to help to this region in an economical way at the first place. I do understand the complicity of the veto thing inside of European community. So in the sense of administration, I do understand concerns. But in the sense of economy, I do not. Like, we should concentrate ourselves in the economy to help to develop this region, to follow strong European market and companies, and then it's going to be much easier. It's really hard to explain the complicity between Serbia and Kosovo. It is a historical question for Serbia, for Kosovo also, and I cannot really predict. I don't think I never heard it is like, if you don't recognize, you will not go to, I don't know, is that official approach from European community to Serbia? If it is, I don't know, maybe Vučić should answer if he comes today here. Yeah, what they plan to do. Of course, we have our complicity in Bosnia because of our constitution, because of politicians from Republika Srpska. They also don't want to recognize Kosovo. So, you know, Bosnia didn't recognize Kosovo. I would recognize tomorrow, but because of complicity in my country and way of decisions on the president's level, so it's impossible at the moment. And I think if we concentrate on the reforms, economy, strengthening actually the costs of life and the salaries and the important things for the people in this region, it's going to be much easier.
But we had another question here in the front row from Mr. Schmidt. The microphone is coming your way, sir.
Thank you very much. Very interesting to hear. I think that the situation that Western Balkan is on the way is the most important message. I would have two questions to you all dealing every day with this. The first is, what could be or what has to be looked on European integration process? Alexander Schallenberg already has referred to come somehow to a more improved development like we have now at the case situation of Albania and Northern Macedonia in the recent years, to be more flexible in adaptation of the step-by-step approach to European integration, not to lose the momentum as a message, especially to young people, to say, look, we are going ahead. That's not only a vision, this is reality. Which role could play regional cooperation? We're talking about Berlin process, about open Balkans. What is your option about this in future? And the second is, I think we should continue our dialogue in Sarajevo, but I think it's very interesting for all. Dayton has been set as a ceasefire, a peacemaker in 1995. In between, things have developed. We are ahead of European integration. What would you see, Minister Konaković, as an opportunity to implement the failure, the shortfalls of Dayton in human rights situation, as it has been a focus on the ethnic situation in the country and not on the individual rights situation. We see that there is, about the decisions of the European Court of Human Rights, a lot of questions coming on. How could we implement in the framework of the European Union integration process, or should be there a parallel development to work on this?
Why don't we go right to that question, Sarah? It seems like a good one to start with.
I think
A short answer, please, because we're almost over and I want to get
I prepared myself. I was watching. I will use 4 minutes, so I will have none. We have to go faster. We have to be concrete. They have to touch something from the people there, you know. They have to touch that the reforms are bringing results. We know this is good for the future. This is good for these 17 years. Our children, they will be in European community. But all of us, we will lose elections, and the other parties which promote even connections with Russia, that is happening in Bosnia, you know what I'm talking about. Actually, they will get their followers and we will stop on this road, you know. So we need economy. We need a fast reform in field of economy. We need projects supported by European community. I know trade, I know numbers, I know everything, but now we have to be more concrete, faster, like they need to touch. They need to be aware like it is a future, but it is a present also. You know, if we go to that way, we will have a bigger salaries. There is a singer in Bosnia, you know, Rambo Amadeus, he sings about, and he explained, with the salary 500 euros, you will discuss only your history and the problems. With the salary of 3,000 euros, you will not discuss that. And at the end, the things which is changing the most in Bosnia, it changed every day, it's our history, you know, now. We are changing our history, discussing history, nothing about present, nothing about future. Some common projects, they can touch, they can feel, bigger salaries, and you will see how fast Western Balkans can go to the European community.
Thank you very much. I'd like to go for one more question here. The gentleman in the third row, if you could introduce yourself as well, please.
Thank you very much, Matthew. My name is Edward Joseph, Johns Hopkins SAIS in the U.S. Great to see you. And Matthew, you very skillfully led this. We've touched on Serbia, Kosovo. We've touched on the frustration in North Macedonia. The outstanding leadership Foreign Minister Osmani is having in OSCE at its most challenging time. But we turn here to Bosnia-Herzegovina. And the question I have for the Foreign Minister Konaković and also Foreign Minister Schallenberg, how can we speak about an EU perspective for Bosnia-Herzegovina when a prominent leader in the country is dedicated to tearing the country apart? There's no EU enlargement, no vision, no Paris, if there is no Bosnia-Herzegovina. So my question for you, for Mr. Schallenberg, you mentioned correctly these 10 rounds of sanctions on Russia. Who would have thought of that? It was so impressive. How about 1 round of sanctions on Milorad Dodik? And if that's not possible within the EU, how about countries joining the United States and the United Kingdom in sanctioning Milorad Dodik, who has just been in Moscow, along with Alexander Vulin, plotting security to destabilize the region with Russia? Thank you.
Well, this is a neutral question to end on. I don't know if you...
I told you I'm going to use a few more minutes. I told you. He was in Russia. He visited and he had a meeting with Putin. At the same time, SNSD party of Milorad Dodik is the leader actually. They are a part of our coalition and they voted all these reforms. So they supported this law from 14 key priorities. They voted program of it's really complicated, I know, but his political reality back there in Bosnia. So you know the constitution, you know, House of People, they have 3 caucuses, Bosniak, Serbs, Croats, so he controls 4 people from 5. We need at least 2 to vote, so without him, we cannot adopt budget, nothing, everything will stop. So we are making compromises, it's not easy. Maybe we are even paying a price in a political way. Maybe we will lose elections, but I don't care. Because we are bringing some results, we are delivering results, and we are thinking about the future. He's a political reality. Without him, it's impossible. If someone knows how to deal with him and to take him out from Bosnia, I support the idea, so we will see this. But if not, let's be realistic. Let's try to do something, not to fight anymore, not to talk about, I don't know, impossible things. Let's concentrate ourselves and deliver some concrete results.
Finally, Minister Schallenberg, maybe a short answer on that. I guess visiting Moscow is not, necessarily cause for sanctions, given that your own chancellor also visited not too long ago.
But that was a different thing, a very different thing. No, there's no short answer to that, because sometimes I feel like I'm so embedded in Bosnia and Herzegovina politics that I have to remind my friends in the Western Balkans they're still a foreign minister of another sovereign country. But we have to be very watchful, and what you said is completely right. What they're doing, some of the leaders, is for the gallery, for the public. And we had discussions within the European Union on the question of sanctioning. I was hesitant. I was 2 years ago all in favor. Last year I was hesitant. So that's Western Balkan politics. You have to adapt. Because I didn't want him to become a martyr during the elections. I believe we have carrots and sticks. We have to use them. We have to show them. And it was helpful, yes, that the Americans did what they did, and that the Brits did what they did. But I believe we as European Union have to have a different stance. And we have to ask ourselves again and again, and that is actually the true question, how come leaders like that are still successful in our neighborhood? That is the question. How come we failed so miserably in 20 years that we haven't been able to create a narrative that actually pulls away the ground for people like that to be politically successful? And then when you say, I mean, it's easy things. We talked about gradual integration, about mood and surveys, and that the European Union might not be the winning ticket. That's, I believe, a very important thing. And it should make us think twice. And so they're easy things. Why not add them to Erasmus, to roaming, to all these things, you know? Give them the feeling Europe is real, it's tangible, and we mean business. And not only bureaucrats sitting in some room and discussing about some parts of the acquis and nobody knows and feels anything about it. I believe this is the real way. And yes, sticks have to be shown again and again in the Balkans, but we're not.